We are live to the public and on YouTube. Wade, you are welcome to start the meeting.
Okay, great. Thanks, Christy. So welcome, everyone. My name is Wade Frick. I am the chair of the Village of Chagrin Falls Board of Zoning Appeals. We really appreciate your attendance today. This is the January 5th, 2021 meeting of the board. This is actually our December meeting just a week or so later. Our initial meeting was scheduled for December 22nd, and we had a number of people who weren't able to make it. So this is, while in January, this is really our December of 2020 meeting. If you've never joined us before, we try and run an informally formal meeting here. The idea is everyone, all of you who have joined us, anyone who would like to speak, we will do so. We want to make sure you're all heard. We'll do it in an orderly fashion. The way we'll do it, again, if you've never been part of this, is I will ask Rob Jameson for the procedural background, kind of background on the issues before us, the applications that we take one at a time. And once Rob has given us the background, then I will ask the applicant to present. The board will ask questions of the applicant. I will then open the floor first for anyone who would like to speak in favor of the application. And then I will ask for anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application. We take the applications in the order they were filed or received, so that's simply the way we proceed. We do record these sessions, and we produce minutes. So we do ask that as people identify themselves, first of all, you'll be sworn in by the law director. And then we ask that you state your name and give us your address, just so that our minutes can be clear, because again, we do produce minutes to all that. So again, we want to make sure everybody is heard and everyone will have an opportunity to speak. If the audience has questions they want to pose to the applicant, we really ask they direct them more to us, to the board, and then we can in turn ask for information. I think it just works smoother that way. Before we begin, we do have, I guess, no minutes to approve, but we have one internal procedural issue, which we always do in January, which is to elect a chairman and a secretary of the BZA. So with that being said, I assume there's no discussion of the board, and we're welcome to discuss if you'd like. I guess I'd throw open the chair position first and ask for a motion for a nominee of the chair, and then we'll take a second.
I nominate Wade Frick.
I second.
Second.
I was hoping 2021 was going to bring more happiness and joy. So
so it will.
Well, I'm honored. If elected, I shall serve. No. Okay. So Lisa, I'll remember you. And then I think Andrew was the second. Is there anyone else for nomination on the chairman? Okay, Rob, if you could take the roll vote.
Freshman Johnson.
Aye.
Frick.
Abstain.
Holdren.
Aye.
Kramer.
Aye.
Rocky.
Aye.
Well, I'd like to say I appreciate your confidence in me, but I think it's just you don't want to deal with the hassle. But in any event, thank you. I'm honored to continue another year as the chairperson. Next up would be nomination for our secretary of the BZA, the only other office that we have who basically fills in for the chairman when the chairman's not there.
I nominate Rachel Freshman Johnson.
Oh, Lisa, getting in quickly, so
Nobody can nominate her.
You figured it out.
All right, is there a second to Rachel?
Second.
Are there any other nominations to be considered? All right, Rob, roll please.
Frick.
Aye.
Holdren.
Aye.
Kramer.
Aye.
Rocky.
Aye.
Freshman Johnson.
Abstain.
Okay, so Rachel and I will update our resumes with this these lofty titles and positions after this call or our meeting. So we are ready to move on to now the actual substance of the meeting, the important stuff, which is the two applications before us. The first application, and I think Dale, Mr. Law Director, you prefer to swear witnesses in one at a time right before they testify. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the first application before us is that of Bell Street Properties, 139 Bell Street. Rob, if you could please give us the background on this application.
Sure. This application is from Mr. Andrew Shibley, representing Bell Street Properties LLC, who owns and operates the office building at 139 Bell Street. They've applied for an occupancy permit for Suite 201 to allow a barber shop to go into that occupancy. This building is in the office zoning district, and a barber shop is not permitted in the office zoning district as a primary use or as a secondary use in the building. That falls under section 1135.02 of the permitted uses in the zoning code per the zoning review letter. So they've applied for a variance to that use variance to that section for their barbershop application.
Okay, just to be clear, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, multiple times. Again, you've said this is a use variance. This is not. There are two kinds of variances under our code. One is an area variance, which we tend to see more of, which would be, I want to build my house 2 feet from the property line. The code says 3 feet and I need a foot. This is an actual use variance, and there's a different section of the code and different of the code and different tests that's applicable. I have that right, Rob and
Yes.
Dale?
That's correct.
Yeah, they have reasons for granting variances for the use variance is covered under section 1111.07.
And specifically subpart B, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And
Yes.
that'll track the application that the applicant had to fill out, I believe.
Yes, let me get to the, hold on, I gotta change my view again here. Oops.
Section 8.
Yep, section 8's right here on the screen.
Okay. All right, I have thanks, Rob, for the background. Does anyone else have a question for Rob as to the background before we get into the application? Okay, applicant, who's speaking on behalf of the application? And then I guess, Christy, is this, you have to let someone in? Someone's raising their hand, or could you let them know what they need to do to speak at this point?
Or if anyone is in attendance on the Zoom platform, just use the raise your hand function and I will promote you to a panelist to have a discussion with the board.
So
I see
this-
Andrew Shibley. I see
Yeah.
Andrew. I'll promote you right now.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say, this is really the presentation of the applicant, so I assume that would be Andrew.
Yeah, I see. So Andrew's in. Maybe that's the only one right now.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Andrew, before you begin,
Andrew.
we need Dale to swear you in.
Sure.
Yeah.
He should actually swear in Larry Shibley. He'll be the primary person testifying. So,
Well, are you going to testify at all, Andrew, or are you just acting as legal counsel?
more so legal counsel or as a additional help.
Let me swear you in just to cover ourselves.
Okay, sure thing.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if your dad's there, why don't we have him get sworn in
Sure.
right after you?
You should
Okay.
be.
Yeah.
Well, who wants to start, Andrew? Do you want to start with a presentation? You want your dad to do it?
My dad was going to perform the presentation. I hope he's on. If he's not, I can certainly give some thoughts.
Mr.
But
Shibley, are you out
Andrew, I
there?
thought he was with you. I don't see,
we're not in the same room,
I see.
house, or anything.
Well, I don't see his name, but if there's anyone here, Larry Shibley or anyone else representing this project, just raise your hand in the Zoom platform. But Andrew, I don't see him online right now.
Okay. Sure. So I can go ahead and give some thoughts, and he may be having some trouble connecting. But basically, what we're looking to do here is grant a small part of this office building to be used primarily for retail, which is, of course, we understand that the barber shop is a retail use, but it is less than 2% of the building. The building is about 15,000 square feet. This whole property is, and so this is a very small portion. And some of the reasons we talked about in the application, from our perspective, there's a general decrease in office demand in Chagrin and in surrounding areas. But certainly we have a number of buildings in Chagrin, and we're seeing that since COVID. And another aspect of this is that this area is surrounded by retail use. There's a salon across the street. There's a salon right down the street, closer to the beverage shop, and so we feel this fits right into the area. And then from the tenant's perspective, Mr. Capranci, local Chagrin person, formerly worked at the Mug and Brush. I believe a few of you may know him, and he's starting out on his own. So for instance, we may have a space available on Main Street, but it's not really the right price range for someone starting out, with this new barbershop concept. So that being said, there are a number of reasons why we feel that this kind of makes sense in these times. And considering the very small amount of space in this building, it's not something that we intend to, convert the whole building to a retail use. So those are our thoughts on it.
Thank you. I have a few questions. I'll start off, and then obviously board members chime in. What was previously in this space?
Yeah, so that's another interesting point. This was actually used for, I think, 15 or so years as a women's salon services. It was Carmela Era was in that suite, and she provided various services and in that area. So it's actually a pretty similar use, and it's been vacant for a few months, but she was the last tenant after she retired.
And was she in the same 290 square feet?
Exact same, yeah, same suite.
So Rob, do you any idea how that happened?
No, I'm not familiar. I mean, that could have been prior to the uses defined for that zoning district. Could have been that there was some kind of different arrangement with that establishment and how it was categorized. I'm not familiar with how that was set up.
And
Sorry, how long was she there?
I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I'm pretty confident it was at least 15 years. It may have been more than that.
That could have
It was a long time.
predated it, yeah.
I worked for my father back in 2011, or 2012 actually, before I went to law school, and she was a tenant back then for sure.
Andrew, what's you said the building is 1,500 or 15,000 square feet. What percentage of that is occupied currently?
Let's see, off the top of my head, well, I might. It's a significant, maybe 75%. I don't have an exact number, but certainly, for instance, I do many of the showings for the company. I haven't had any other showings for that space since I showed it to Joe, and that was in November. I haven't had any other calls that would even come, anybody looking for a space like that. And we have a few other spaces in those buildings, that are the same. There's 1,000 square feet in the building next door that's been vacant for a year or so. So I mean, it's a struggle, and we continue to lose tenants on a monthly basis, it seems like.
The building next door has an art gallery in it as well.
Yeah, there's two buildings technically that we own in this area. They're right next to each other, two white buildings. And then the 139 is the first, then 147, and then there's the art gallery after that is very close to our property.
Right. And what tenants are in the building immediately to your east?
I'm sorry, which building?
The building up the street towards the art gallery. What tenant? What do you have? Am I thinking of the wrong building? I thought there's an art gallery that's in one of those buildings close by. Is there not?
So we have the two office buildings. They're kind of like sister buildings. They're both white buildings right across from that gas station.
Right.
And the next building up the street is the art gallery. That building is owned by the Chagrin Valley Art Center. And that is exclusively an art gallery building.
Okay, so there's no other, your second office building to the east has no retail in it currently?
I mean, nothing, not that I can think of. There might be one like semi-retail, semi-services use, but it's like a similar size suite of
Okay.
Of 200 or 300 square feet.
And Rob, I should have looked at the map. I apologize, before the zoning map.
Yeah.
Across Bell to the south, for Marathon and the Plaza, is that zoned retail?
I'll tell you in a second. It's retail business is the Marathon station there.
And the Plaza?
In that plaza there where the dry cleaner and Master Pizza is.
And then you've got a residential overlay that allows the Bell Tower and others?
Well, when you go further east past that, like Bell Tower Court, that is
That light industrial?
that is a light industrial, limited industrial, residential multi-use, RMU.
Andrew, is that an upstairs or downstairs space?
This is a first floor space.
First floor. Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew, what do you think the hours of operation are going to be?
I don't think we listed that on the application, and I haven't spoken to Joe, but my guess would be in line with other barber shops in town. But I'm not, to be honest, I'm not sure, but.
And Rob, this is more of a question for you, but if this is granted, does this make this space permanently available for retail, or if they wanted to switch it and sell perfume or something in a year, is this then, would they have to come back for another variance?
They'd have to submit another occupancy permit with exactly what they're proposing for that space, and then we'd have to evaluate it against the code at that time. So if they change their primary focus from being a barber shop to being majority retail, then that does change the use over what, depending on how they were granted the variance for. We'd have to evaluate depending on what they'd be proposing.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about the utility services that go into the building? And one of the reasons why office space is different than retail is, one, the services that go in, and do you have to do construction to allow, water, electricity, because they're using different types of things? Can you talk, is there any construction that's needed?
Sure. So of course there's some limited construction needed. The space hasn't been updated in a number of years. So, we'll put a new floor in and, paint and do the cosmetic stuff. But from a mechanical perspective, the space already has water. There's an existing sink in there. And from what I understand, and I have spoken to Joe about this, we don't believe that there's any serious electrical work needed beyond, some minor things and, to get things in the right place for his chairs and stuff like that. And he's already spoken to a plumber, and has that all worked out, and it, you know, nothing is major here. It all sounds pretty minimal.
Is he a sole proprietor? He'll be a sole proprietor?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Is there shared restroom space in this office building?
There is, yeah, there's restrooms on both floors.
And
Yeah,
that will remain?
of course, yeah. And we maintain, you know, we have cleaning services multiple times a week that come through and clean the bathrooms, hallways, all that stuff.
It's kind of interesting to me that, I mean, as long as those buildings have been there, I didn't know there had been a beauty salon in any space in that building. Is this in the back?
It's actually on the front of the building, the adjacent to the street.
So in terms of signage, or, I mean.
So we have, you know, obviously, you know, pursuant to the code, we have the signage on both buildings is just a hanging sign. We actually just replaced those signs recently, and they are split with slots for maybe 8 or 10 tenants or something like that, or someone
So
can
it's
take
minimal, yeah.
for a big space. So, you know that's the main signage for the building for sure.
So it potentially a barber pole or whatever they call that spinning thing could be another variance someday.
Well, we're not going to ask to put a spinning barber pole.
Why not?
Well, I mean, if you'd let us, we'd be happy to. I have a
We'd have
feeling
to put it inside.
Yeah, well, we'd be happy with that too, but well, we'd be happy just to have Joe be able to set up shop in there, and you know, any additional signage that may be permitted would be great.
Do you know, Andrew, will there just be one chair or two chairs, or how what? I mean, I think you said Joe's going to be a sole proprietor. He's the only barber who'll be working there.
To start, I think it might be maybe 2 chairs, 2 or 3. I think maybe to start, he might get a few more than he needs at first to have them in place. I think ultimately he would like to, you know, maybe bring someone along, but you know, the space is what it is. You know, he can't. There's only so many chairs you could put in there, and he understands that. He knows, you know, that it can't be more than a few chairs, so that certainly wouldn't be the intent.
My last question is, and I don't know if this is for Rob or, but when we have a retail zoning, the parking requirements are different than office zoning? Yes?
Yes.
And is there sufficient parking to support the retail needs at this location?
100%. I'm at those buildings multiple times a week during their busiest hours. It's a shared, if you're not familiar with it, it's actually a shared parking lot between the 2 office buildings I've been talking about. And there's multiple, there's 2 ways in and out. And when I'm there, it's generally, I would say, 15 to 25% full at the, you know, at lunch hour, or, you know, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, those times a day, you know, when because one of the reasons is COVID, but I was, you know, I have experience with these buildings prior to COVID, and even then it could easily support his use. But there's more than enough parking. We actually lease parking to the art center and to another adjacent building owner. So there's certainly more than enough.
Rob, do you agree with all that from a numbers standpoint?
Yeah, I did meet the parking requirement. I don't have that directly in front of me, but we did that review and it was in compliance with that.
Okay, great.
Are there any more questions for Andrew? I want to ask if Larry's around, if he wants to say anything, but first, before we let Andrew go, is there any other question from the board? Christy, can you see if Mr. Shibley's around, if he is there, or if he wants to say anything?
I do not see Mr. Shibley in attendance. I do have a Christopher Swanson raising a hand.
Okay, well, but so let me make sure we're any further questions of Andrew Shibley? And Larry Shibley going once, going twice, gone, not in attendance, correct, Christy?
Correct.
So at this point, yeah, we'll turn it over to the audience. If you see multiple hands, I'll ask for, those in favor first and those opposed second. And if it's just Mr. Swanson, we'll, whatever his position is, we'll take him. So first, if you could just open it up to all hands and see if we have others as well.
Thank you all for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. So Christy, if you could open the floor, if anyone's listening, whoever's listening, if you want to, and Christy, remind people how to raise their hands.
Sure. At the bottom of your screen, there's a raise your hand function. On my screen, it happens to be a yellow image of a hand. You just press it and then I'm able to see it and identify that you want to speak. Again, so far it's just Mr. Swanson.
Great. Well, let's welcome Mr. Swanson in then.
All right. Mr. Swanson, if you could enable your microphone and video if you choose.
There, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. The law director needs to see you.
Okay, let me see here. Now, can you see
There
me?
we go.
Hey,
got
all
you.
right.
I believe
Hi.
many of us on this call know this guy more commonly as Dutch as opposed to Christopher Swanson, but welcome, Mr. Swanson. Dutch,
Hi.
Mr. Law Director, can you swear in Mr. Swanson, please?
Sure. Mr. Swanson, can you raise your right hand for me?
Sure.
Do solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Dutch, the floor is yours.
Okay. No, the only thing I have to say about this was I was looking over at the zoning and the codes and I was studying this. And I saw that it says that the use of a variance should only be granted when the property has no other use. And it says that it is not only not permitted, there were 2 points, but that it was explicitly prohibited. And I cannot see that that property has no other use over there. I'm not seeing that when there's office space in there and there's everything else. It's clearly laid out in the zoning where the retail is in the village, and it also says where the retail is for the barber shops in the zoning, and this is clearly not in there.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. I'm just saying what the zoning says and what the use of the variance was. And that was all. I'm just against this. I don't think that it falls within the zoning, within the use or with the intent of what the zoning is.
Okay. All right. We appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Christy, do you have, can we just check one more time if anybody else would like to speak as well?
Absolutely. If there are any other members in the audience that would like to speak, raise your hand in the Zoom platform so I can identify you. No hands raised, Wade.
All right. If you've never been to one of our meetings, the way we do this is we'll take a motion in the affirmative to grant the motion, and then we all vote to grant the application. Then we vote aye or nay, just so you're aware of how we run this. So that being said, is there someone who would like to put forth the motion?
I would.
That was Lisa? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Lisa.
I move that we grant the request for a variance at 139 Bell Street, the variance being to section 1135.02A, permitted uses in the retail business district. I guess, and I guess the major reason for that would be the fact that it's been a barber shop / beauty salon use for the last 15 years. I'm curious as to how that happened and whether that happened prior to our pulling out the use variance requirements in the code. I think the most compelling aspect of this is that it's a a minimal space within an existing office building and a use that's already been in place for some 15 years. I think that the elements of the test for a use variance are, it doesn't seem to have been self-created in the sense that I think the applicant has looked at this as a potential continuation of an existing use. It may be due to some unique conditions on the existing on the property in that the setup was already in place for a barbershop / salon. I do think there's some compelling argument to be made that business, retail, and commercial rental properties are struggling and will continue to struggle for some period of time. And if in fact there was a different use that was requested of a retail nature, as Andrew made the point, you'd have to come back and request a variance again for something different. I don't believe it violates the spirit of the planning and zoning code. I do think that it's minimal, and I think for those reasons we should grant the request for variance.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Rachel, that's you?
Yeah.
Hey, before we vote, Dale, I just want to get on the record and make sure I've got this straight. I mean, most of our applications are the area variances, and under the eight-part Duncan factors, we can find that they don't have to check all 8 boxes. We can find any one of those factors to be compelling. Is the standard the same with respect to the 6 factors for use variance, that the applicant doesn't have to check all 6 boxes, but we can find one or more of those to be dispositive?
It's a good question. When you look at 1107 B and C, we specifically say that you weigh the factors for area variances, and no single factor controls. For B, we specifically decided not to include that when we amended the code to add this standard for unnecessary hardships. I would say to you that there's got to be some evidence that supports all of the code provisions, or if they don't meet all of the code provisions, that it's heavily weighed in favor of approval because those sections that it meets, that it does so in a way that wouldn't violate the spirit and intent of the code. In other words, that if you've met 5 of the 6 provisions and the one you didn't meet was the property can't be used for the purposes for which it was owned, that you felt that there was a compelling case why it met the other 5 provisions. So it's a long way of saying, I don't think that it's required that you have to meet all 6 provisions, but if you don't, there has to be some reason why you were able to grant the variance without meeting all 6.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. It's helpful. So we had a second at Rachel. I guess we're up to the roll call vote then, please. Rob.
Yes, Holdren.
Yeah, so I think this is a tough one. I think the main thing I look at with this is the spirit of the planning and zoning code is to not put an office in a residential or put a retail in a residential. I think it's to protect more residential areas. I think we could have easily written our code to say barbershops are allowed in an office setting. I don't think it would change the spirit behind the office district. So I think that factor kind of weighs in more for me on this one, and especially because the right across the street there's another hair salon. So I guess with all these 6 factors, I would vote aye for granting this variance.
Kramer.
Aye for the reasons stated.
Rocky.
Aye for the reasons stated.
Freshman Johnson.
I also, I always struggle with setting precedents and, once we change, you only want 2%, do they come back and, say 3%? I understand the struggles of retail or office space, especially in this new world. It's not going to change. And I do think that office buildings are going to struggle with occupancy for the foreseeable future, for actually probably for a long time. But I also, I think that this type of retail business is easily put in an office type of setting. And, I think there's minimal, work, and there's, it's not large, and it qualifies for all the other reasons. So for the reasons stated in the motion, I vote aye.
And Frick.
I agree with most everything that's been said. I mean, I think Mr. Swanson raises a good point that, right in the middle of the factors is the property can't be used for the purposes for which it's zoned. Clearly this can. And to Rachel's point, I mean, offices are struggling and they're always going to be struggling. But I find the other factors to be overwhelming in this case, and that this is a very unique setup in that it was previously a similar business in this very space. Right across the street is a gas station. Right across the street is another hair place, pizza place. I think this is a very unique location, a very unique space. So for those reasons, I would vote aye as well. So what that means then to the applicant is this is a 5-0 approval. Council has 15 days to consider an appeal of our decisions. So what that means is if 3 members of council decide this is a big enough issue that they want to consider it from the very start, they can so choose and actually hear this at a council meeting. I can never make predictions on how that happens. I don't know if I've ever seen a 5-0 decision get reconsidered by council, but you'll have 15 days to consider. The council have 15 days to consider. Rob will notify you as close there too if there's been no appeal made, at which time you'll have the variance and you can proceed to the next steps. So that's where we are. Thank you all for your time on that one. Good luck to the applicant, and we'll go from there. All right. Next up, second application before us is the application of Mr. Ted Kramer, 107 Kenton Road. I know this one has had some various iterations. Rob, if you could kind of bring us up to speed to what's before us on this application.
Sure. Let me just get my information here. All right. All right, this is the application of Mr. and Mrs. Ted Kramer, 107 Kenton Road. They're proposing a replacement detached garage accessory structure at their property, which is located in the R1 100 zoning district. You can see on the map or on the plans shown on the screen where their new proposed garage is located. They're requesting variances to 2 sections. First is section 1125-04A2, stating that garages shall not exceed 700 square feet in total area. The proposed garage is 1,112 square feet, which exceeds the code requirement by 412 square feet. In addition, on the revised site plan that was originally, or that was submitted with the variance application, there's an existing shed in the back. It was not shown, but when the revised plans were, variance application was submitted, the shed was shown. That also has to add into the calculation, which is 100 square foot. That brings the total of all the accessory structures in the back to 512 square feet above the code requirement. So that would be what that variance request is. The second variance that comes before us tonight on this project is to section 1125-05A2, home occupations. Oh, wait a second. I believe that I think this was addressed. Requires that home professional offices be located within a completely enclosed dwelling. They mentioned they originally were going to use it for a home office, but the applicant has since stated that they are going to not put their home office in the garage once they understood the code requirement. They're going to put that in the main dwelling. So they will not need a variance to that section based on information provided when I gave them feedback on their plans.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Christie, if you could open the floor for whoever's speaking on behalf of the application.
I will move Ted Kramer over to be a part of the conversation.
All right, Mr. Kramer, there you are. Dale, can you please swear in Mr. Kramer?
Sure. Mr. Kramer, can you raise your right hand, and we need to see you on the screen. So if you say something, we'll see if you're.
Okay. Can you see me now?
Yeah, gotcha. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kramer, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present our site plan here. I guess just to start, just like the application indicated, we are proposing to add to our property here a detached garage. Since we originally purchased the home here back in 2008, it's always been a goal of mine to get to a point at which we could add a detached garage, as the existing house currently has just a single car garage. And as a growing family with drivers being added to our household here in the next several weeks, we're anxious to provide some additional enclosed parking for our vehicles. As stated in the application here, the proposed structure does exceed the maximum 700 square foot that's allowable for a detached garage by per your zoning code. An attached, if we, there's really not a feasible way to add attached garage spaces to the property. As you can see from the site plan, we've have a beautiful stone patio on the north side of the house, and obviously adding on the front isn't feasible. So the detached garage is the most feasible way to add the needed parking spaces. You can also see from the site plan that in the back on the north side of the proposed garage, there's basically a storage area with a set of double doors facing north to be used as additional storage for everything from outdoor seasonal furniture, additional recreational equipment that we have and seem to always be adding to our household with a family of 5. So making such a large investment in the property to take the steps to add a proposed garage, it would only be wise to size the garage appropriate for the needs of my family, and that's why we're proposing the 1,112 square feet. Plus, as stated earlier, there is an existing 10 by 10 garden shed in the back of the property that is permitted and approved. And we'd like to, at this point, maintain that shed just for gardening equipment, potting shed of sorts, to remain in the back of the property. So the total 1,212 square feet is what we're requesting. Let's see, basically the size of the garage is, again, it's sized for 2 cars, so that all of our cars can be, housed indoors. Again, the existing house has an attached single car garage, myself, and then a vehicle for my 16-year-old or soon to be 16-year-old. Trying to think what else. I think that kind of touches on it. I don't know if there's any questions.
So yeah, I'll start with one. Rob, if you could get the little hand you have and move it just to the north a little bit, So I'm looking in the garage, there's a smaller nub right in that area. What is that? That's all storage in there?
Correct. Yeah, that's just a single story storage area. Storage, workshop, maybe, you know, again, but yes, that's just, the vehicles will be in the front portion, and that's just additional needed space.
One of the questions we always have to ask or consider is, I mean, you're seeking to go over what's allowed. So we want to make sure you're asking for the lowest amount possible, or the least amount possible. So can you help us understand kind of, you know, why 1,100 square feet as opposed to 990, or, you know, that red area, does that need to be that size? How did you come up with those dimensions?
Sure. Well, the size of the majority of the square footage of the garage itself is the obviously the area, the 2-car portion that houses the vehicles, and that's sized for 2 full-size vehicles. I own a full-size pickup truck due to my business, and just having a truck, and so we want to size it appropriately. Too often I see garages, you know, that are undersized. You know, you're having to crawl out the back window. Builders have a bad habit of undersizing spaces like this. Myself being familiar with the business and how to appropriately size spaces, it's appropriately sized for 2 full-size vehicles, as well as a place to store, you know, garbage. So the back storage will double as a place to store, you know, garbage cans. I've allowed enough space on the front side of the cars so that you can actually wheel these massive garbage cans that were given through the garage and in the back portion of the garage, because I'd like to keep those inside to keep raccoons out and also just keep the property, you know, looking, you know, sightly. Also, again, moving in at the back storage section, your question about how we size that, again, double doors. We do all of our own lawn care. I don't have a landscape service. My 2 sons actually maintain the property. So we have a full-size riding lawnmower, weed whackers, shovels, wheelbarrows, you know, all the things that you would need to maintain, you know, wooded 1-acre property. And so it's sized basically according to the needs of the things that we have. Outdoor patio furniture, like I said, riding lawnmowers, hand tools, just trying to think of all the stuff that currently doesn't fit in the shed.
What's the dimension of the area that's encircled in red? Do you know?
I do here. Give me just a second. Approximately, it's 12 by, well, that's the foundation. 12 by 20, 12 by 22.
It's in the back of the garage too. Ted, can you talk a little bit about your property? It is on a street that has large lots. So this is an acre lot. And can you talk a little bit about the
topography,
the lay of that land?
Right.
It goes back,
Yeah.
heavily wooded, can't really see back there.
Well, the back is
I don't
wooded.
know.
Yeah, the back is wooded. You know, the back, I guess, just beyond, again, plan north on the site plan that you're looking at, just beyond the shed is where the woods start. The majority of the property, though, again, from Kenton Road, the property, as you can see from the the existing topo, it does slope down heavily towards the house. The proposed finished grade of the garage is proposed to be about at the same elevation, you know, as the house, just to accommodate the elevation of the existing asphalt drive there. We do have a drive, as you can see, that kind of wraps around the back of the house to the basement, which again is currently kind of the overflow for a lot of things that we're trying to move out of the house, aren't appropriate to store in the house and need to go into this proposed storage area. What else about the lay of the land? I guess there is a row of you know, trees along our property line along the east property line between us and our neighbors to the east. Yeah. I don't
Your
know.
current garage is side load, correct?
Correct. Yeah,
And
basically
this
right where you
garage
see
will
the
be a
word,
front load?
pardon me?
This garage is front load, so the doors will be visible from the street, but your current garage is side load. It's not really visible from the street.
That's exactly right. Yeah, basically, yes, you're exactly right. The side loaded from the east, the single car, the two car is would be loaded from the front. You can kind of see the two proposed garage doors. Yeah, right there. The intent is to match, the style, the architectural style of the existing house that was built in the 40s. With nice carriage type doors and dormers on the garage to make it, visibly, appealing and architecturally in line with the property and the existing house.
Other questions from the board? Okay, Mr. Kramer, I think we got everything you needed to say. Is there anything else that you have for us?
No, I don't.
Okay, Christy, can you open the mic night? Can you open up and see if there's anyone in the audience who would like to weigh in?
Sure. We have 4 folks in attendance. If you'd like to speak regarding this project, please raise your hand in Zoom. Identify yourself and I will allow you to speak.
And given that we're just raising hands on YouTube or however this is going, I don't think we can maintain the formality of the first will speak in favor and then those will speak in opposition. If there are, we'll just open them up one at a time.
I don't see anyone taking the opportunity.
Oh, okay. No one's raising their hand?
No.
All right. Well, as we always do, we'll give you one more chance. If there's anyone out there in attendance who would like to speak regarding Mr. Kramer's application. Christy, could you remind them how they do it one last time?
Sure. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, depending on how you're attending a laptop or an iPad, there's a raise your hand function, and it appears differently from different platforms. But if you hit the raise your hand button, I can see it, and it identifies you as someone who's wanting to speak. No takers, Wade.
All right, we'll wait just a couple more seconds in case anyone's having any technical difficulty.
And I will say these folks, they've been in attendance during the whole meeting. So they didn't take the opportunity the first time either.
Okay. Well,
All
we
right.
appreciate your attendance for whatever reason you're joining us. So I guess then we're to the point of a motion. Would anyone on the board like to present the motion, please?
I can do the motion.
All right.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for the applicant regarding the property located at 107 Kenton Road. The applicant would like to add an additional garage, which would require a variance to section 1125-04A2 to the would like a variance to the section, 1125-04A2, requiring that any additional, sorry, I don't have this in front of me.
Accessory building.
Accessory building, thank you. Any accessory buildings may net no greater than 700 square feet. With an existing 100 square foot shed and the addition of an 1,100 square foot garage, that will equal a total of 1,212 square feet, bringing them 512 square feet over the maximum allowable square footage. The property currently contains an attached one-car garage, not providing enough space for a larger family with multiple cars in an area where they'd like to have all cars indoors out of the weather and elements not to mention storage, and then creating more usable space inside their house that they're using for storage. They could use the detached garage for storage and create some available space for other things like a home office and recreational use of a basement where they're using for storage. The variance may seem substantial. 500 is about 75% growth. However, considering the size of the lot and the foliage as well as the topography of this property, there are no close neighbors, and there's large wooded area and other elements that would not create an exposed large structure in anybody's view. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be impacted. It would add some significant nice architectural features and would match the style of the house and adding to the style of the neighborhood. Plus, since this sits far down from the street, it does go down a hill and is set back. It won't interrupt the flow of the view from the street. Many years ago, the property was purchased at a time where family was different and needs were different. So the property owner did not purchase the property with knowledge of needing this at the time. The owner has been thoughtful about the sizing of the garage. They have a large property and they could request a larger variance, but they've sized it just to include a small storage area for yard equipment, including a ride-along mower, and then as well as a standard size garage for 2 cars. The spirit and intent of the zoning requirement would be supported and observed by granting this variance. And the variance will provide this home a much needed opportunity to retool its current use by adding this to their footprint, and would otherwise not be able to be obviated in any other way. And for these reasons, the variance should be approved.
Second?
Second. I'm sorry, Lisa, I spoke over. Is that Lisa, second?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, Rob, roll, please.
All right, Kramer.
I vote aye. In terms of the Duncan factors, I think the one that concerns me is that it is a substantial variance. But I think Rachel's statements about, keeping the size of the garage in compliance with what the needs of the applicant are is fairly compelling. And I think that the other factors with respect to the character of the neighborhood and the ability to screen and the topography of the area that keeps it from being obtrusive to neighbors, all of those outweigh the substantial nature of the variance. So I would vote to approve the variance.
Rocky.
Vote aye. I would say that again, this is substantial, but I understand the vehicles are getting bigger and garages have to adapt for that. So.
Okay, Freshman Johnson.
I vote aye for the reasons stated in the motion, and I do believe that they have the luxury of having a larger acre lot with the ability to host a larger accessory structure or gross square feet of accessory structures in this yard. So even though it seems material as far as sizing and just the numbers, this isn't one of those small 60-foot wide village lots. So they have that luxury, and for those reasons, I vote aye.
Frick.
I vote aye, and just to accentuate I agree with everything everyone said. I too would say this is a very substantial variance, but I find overwhelming the character of that street. As Rachel said, the huge lots, and again, I support for the reasons stated by everyone who voted ahead of me. I would say this is substantial, but I would vote aye for all the other factors.
And Holdren.
I too would vote aye for all the reasons stated.
Okay, so if you weren't paying attention or on before, Mr. Kramer, what this means is you have a 5-0 vote in your favor. Council has, by code, 15 days to raise a reconsideration of our granting of this. I have not seen a 5-0 decision get appealed, but it is possible, I suppose. So nothing will happen for 15 days. We'll let those come and go. And if there's no appeal made, Rob will notify you and you'll have your variance and you'll be able to proceed with next steps. So 15 days from now, you'll hear more.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much.
All right. You're welcome and good luck. Is there anything else to come before the board?
Yes, we have one final project, 158 South Main.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my old agenda.
Mhm.
All right. This is 158 South Main, application of,
Gary and Sarah Gooding,
I remember the Gooding proposal, so sorry about that.
no problem. I can roll right into it if you want me to.
Yeah, if you could, no, I apologize. I'm looking at the first agenda that came out. So yeah, if you could, Rob, remind us of the nature of this application.
Sure, this application is for Mr. and Mrs. Gary Gooding, 158 South Main Street. They are in the R150 zoning district. They're proposing a new front porch. They are requesting a variance to section 112503 K3, the projection of building features and setbacks, which states that porches and similar architectural projections that exceed 48 square feet shall meet the setback requirements of the main building. The proposed front porch is 138 square feet and it encroaches into the front yard setback 6 feet. The front of the building has a 30.2 foot front yard setback. It meets the 30-foot required minimum setback. So they're requesting a variance of 6 feet to allow their new front porch.
All right, thank you. Mr. or Mrs. Gooding, are you on to present, or who will be presenting on behalf of the applicant? Christy, if you could open up and see who's raising their hand.
I will.
And I did have,
Becky Pantuso, I'll move her over.
yep.
All right.
I do have some elevations and site plans here
Sure.
that show everything in detail.
I noticed Gary Gooding on the line as well. If you'd like to speak during the presentation, just raise your hand in Zoom and I'll be able to identify you and move you over as well.
So what we'll do first is we'll take Ms. Pantuso. So since apparently you're testifying first, is that right?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, so Dale, can you swear her in, please?
Sure. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Well, we are, as stated, asking for a front yard setback variance. In total, it's actually 7'9" because I understand we need to now include a stone step. It is going to be one step up. So it's a 30-foot setback. The house is within 30 feet already. As you can see there, we're 10 inches into the setback on the far right side. And I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Main Street. It starts with, click it on the corner that the building is on the right of way, and kind of that 30-foot setback, I would say, is encroached in the first, all the commercial buildings there. And probably you have anywhere from 20 to 30 feet along that street as sort of a norm. The unfortunate thing for the Goodings is the right of way increases. So from the cars, they're set back, but as a pedestrian, you're kind of getting closer and closer to the houses. And I didn't study exactly, but somewhere there's, they're at the peak of that. So The sidewalk is close to the home. We're really just trying to put a front porch. They just moved here from California, would like to sit out on their front porch and enjoy living in the village. They're older and appreciate the fact that they can walk around and enjoy the amenities of the village. They're no longer driving. So we're trying to allow them to sit on this front porch. If I could manage to get 2 seats and access to the front door underneath that 48 square foot, I would have done that and not come here tonight, but we couldn't. So ironically, are proposing to go all the way across the front, and that's a little bit in direction from the ARB, keeping with the Cape Cod style. They can put some seats on the left there, and then actually this will provide a path to the driveway. But you know, at 5 foot deep, I am tucking this back as close to the house as possible. I mean, I'm actually a little worried that it's not deep enough at 5 feet because or 6 feet because you're trying to put some chairs on it. So that's what we're doing. I think the house will, you know, have a nice aesthetic improvement as part of this process, but you know, that's a different board. So tonight we're just asking for this 7.75 foot variance. And I believe Sarah and Gary are on and can answer any more questions, and maybe a few neighbors, I'm not sure.
Okay, first, before we let Becky go, questions of Becky on this.
On the underside of this drawing here, this is the original kind of stepping stone stairs that you see underneath the shaded gray.
Yeah, that's showing the existing stoop and the existing stoop and steps, which are actually the same distance away from the house that we're proposing our porch, but because it's not covered, you know, we're here tonight to ask permission to do that.
Okay. Rob, are you looking for something specific here?
Oh, are you seeing the meeting minutes I'm looking at?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Oh, I didn't know. I just didn't know if you wanted us to wait for something.
No, I was looking up the ARB.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Other questions of Becky from the board?
what would be, if you had all the room to do whatever, what would be the standard, you know, width that you really need to have 2 chairs?
Width or depth?
Well, depth.
Or, you know, yeah, the 8 foot is what I would love to have, because, you know, you put a oversized chair, that's going to be 3 to 4, and to be able to walk around it without falling off, you know, that's sort of my typical go-to. In this case, because we're closer and I'm trying to keep it more modest, I think you can get, you know, more upright chairs that are smaller. So it's a furniture, you know, cleverness in selecting the furniture, but.
And I assume it's of no importance to us that you're going across the entire front of the house. It's still, this is only a depth. I mean, whether you built it only 6 feet on either side of the door or went all the way across the house, it's still a setback requirement.
Right.
Correct. As I understand it, anyhow.
Is that, Rob, is that your understanding as well?
I believe so. Hold on.
I mean, there's no area involved. It just simply is a setback,
Setback issue.
whether it's 6 feet
Yeah.
long or 27 feet long, it's still a setback issue.
Correct. And that's triggered by the size of the square footage of the front porch being larger than the
48.
48 square feet in the code.
Right. Okay. Any other questions of Becky from the board?
So what is the square footage of this porch?
At 138 square feet is what I had calculated.
Okay.
And this project did come for preliminary November 17th in front of the Architectural Board of Review with the comments to revise and resubmit, which they're intending to do pending the outcome of the variances this evening.
Does this have a cover or it's just the base?
It has a roof. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And not to use, precedents, but I think it might be 95. I don't know if somebody has Google Earth, but they're probably 15 feet from the right of way. So the precedent has been set on the street for this exact same thing. It's a cute little house, but it's kind of at an angle. I don't know if and it's got what appears to be a deck above the porch.
I don't have a whole lot, but I can show the overall layout on the street here. That shows some close houses further down.
Yeah, if you go down to 90, these are.
Wait, where are they?
Oh, there's Bellevue. Okay, so we're 158 right there.
Okay.
And then if you go to the right, Rob,
Mhm.
probably equal distance from Bellevue, there's that 94, sorry. See how close that guy is?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, and it's the exact same, request to do a front porch. And I think that was done nice, I mean, it kind of softens the streetscape and makes it more friendly for an otherwise fairly busy road. So
Right.
again, that's more.
Can you just go over, you read through it so fast. What is the exact distances in the variance again? It's
Sure.
required, they're 32 or 36 feet right now.
They're right now they are, let me get to that plan, hold on.
It's a 30-foot setback, but we're just under, we're 29 foot to our existing house.
Okay.
And then we're asking for an additional 6 foot, but, or 7 foot, sorry. But because we have that, 0.9 feet to clean up, the total is 7.75.
And that was on the revised plans that were submitted for the variance application.
Okay.
But your point is that the existing stoop projects almost as far as the proposed covered porch, right?
It does, and I'm just showing that it's, I guess, relevant, but it's, I guess, we're asking for a front porch that, is, in my opinion, as modest as we can make it,
Right.
in depth.
Mhm.
So it's always hard. You guys ask, is the request substantial or not? And I know what's the difference between substantial and not substantial? What is it, 20% or 40% or what's that tipping point? So in my mind, it's not substantial, but I think that's a subjective question to some degree. So
I have the existing house up on the screen now.
What's going to happen to the beautiful tree to the left?
Oh,
I know. Well, Gary's a landscaper, so I'm excited to see how he cleans this up. But I'm also equally excited to see the house architecturally get improved upon. So adding a couple dormers, and a nice front porch, I really think it's going to dress up this otherwise, vinyl manufactured home,
Yeah, it's definitely in between like those two Victorian.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Like an app, like, hey, let's stick this square box right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think it'll be good.
Any other questions of Becky before we see who else is out there from the board?
Nope.
All right. I think you said, Christy, that one or both of the applicants themselves are on.
Yes, the Goodings are on and they've raised their hand, so I'm promoting them so that they can get sworn in and join the conversation.
Okay. Dale, do you want to swear them together or however you want to do it?
If they both can go on the screen, sure.
Okay, Goodings, we're waiting for you to join us.
Yep, I move them over. I'm going to see if Goodings, I've asked you to unmute if you would, please. I will also request for you to start your video. So if you see those prompts, please accept.
And where's the video? I'm visually impaired, so it's somewhat of a challenge. Did we make it?
Made it.
Yes, I
Made
can
it.
see you. Okay,
Thank you.
if you could both raise your right hands.
Right.
My right.
Other right hand.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so Mr. and Mrs. Gooding, you're free to speak.
One at a time, though.
Well, my wife would say I do way too much talking, but I'll start. When we looked at this house online in June, we went right by it because it was surrounded by all these beautiful homes, Victorians with porches and everything. We were leaving a home in California to get closer to family, and it didn't really appeal to us at all. Once we found out the other amenities, including a bedroom a suite on the main floor, we took another look at it. And when we sat down and said, this house would be ideal for us, we don't drive anymore for a variety of reasons. So 0.2 of a mile to walk to town was perfect. We had a small porch in California. We used to, gab with the neighbors. It was something we said, well, if we can get this house and put a porch on it, this will be ideal. This is our last home. We definitely expect it to be our last home. And so we were a little off-put when we found out that we were going to have potential issues. So we worked with Becky to try to put together something that would really, as you can see, having somebody made the appropriate comment that somebody put a box in between the Victorians. It's our attempt to really blend more into the neighborhood, which is filled with porches, filled with certainly much more dramatic houses than this is. But I think you would agree, looking at the house here with these improvements, it's going to be would be a nice addition to the historical district. As did, I went around and I think I put something in the mail there. I know it's not official because it isn't certified or whatnot, but I went to all the neighbors, showed them the plan. And all of the people that I talked to were excited and delighted from the standpoint of it being a positive addition to the neighborhood.
I think all the neighbors have been really kind and happy that we've moved in. For those of you who've not seen, I know we're talking about the front yard of this home primarily, but the backyard is just wonderful. It's got a nice sort of rambly place to go sledding. And we're really excited to fix it up and make it look a little more comfortable in that neighborhood, because certainly from the homes we've lived in before, this is a pretty small piece, but it deserves more than that. And we are eager to make it be what we think it can be, despite the small size of it. So
in relationship to the other homes, there's only 2 of us in our family now, 2 living in the house. We do have family to visit, but it's certainly more than adequate housing for us. But in relationship to the homes around it, it's certainly
different.
Seems small. So I think that's pretty much our message.
We might even make a name for the house, something that people will just say, yeah, we're the little house on the top of the hill.
Well, welcome to Chagrin. I hope you appreciated that today was the only day of sunshine we will have until May. But
it's true. That's not true. That's such a negative attitude.
I didn't see that sunshine today. I didn't know what.
Oh, it was out.
He said there was sunshine, and I looked, and it immediately disappeared.
Yeah, there was. No, anyhow, well, welcome to the community. Any questions of the Goodings from the board?
No, we just hope.
For them, for us.
Whoops, no. Well, yeah.
No, they are going to ask us questions. Sarah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Does anybody have any questions? I mean, the presentation was so thorough and thoughtful. I don't know that we have any, but anybody on the board with a question of the Goodings?
Nope.
Okay, Mrs. Gooding, I think you wanted a final thought, or you had a comment for us.
No, I was just going to say that this house can't get anything but nicer.
Well, it's well on its way. It certainly appears. So welcome again to the community. Christy, can you open the floor for anybody in the audience who may be out there with interest in speaking?
Sure. We have 2 folks in attendance and 1 is raising a hand. Robert Falls, I will promote you so you can get sworn in. Let's see.
And again, Mr. Falls,
if you have the opportunity to unmute and start your camera.
Video.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm here with my wife, Catherine.
Here they are.
Can you raise your right hand? Whoever's going to testify.
Wait, where's both are up? Oh, okay.
Okay, there you go. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Falls, the floor is yours.
Okay. We are one of the neighbors that live next door to the nicest couple in Chagrin Falls. They've only been here a short time, but I can't believe what positive impact they've made on the neighborhood. My wife told me to watch my language, so I will, because I'll just say that before these plans came up to what they are now, it looked like a little starter home and a Lionel set. It was just a very small little piece of house. And what they have done as far as the planning, and Rebecca, you've done a marvelous job. I would like to see the porch go out another 5-10 feet, but that's okay. But I think that they have really enjoyed just sitting on their front stoop and their little plastic chairs and greeting the neighbors. So I think this is one, heartfelt, but also I think as far as I can't think of a better vote to cast than yes for this variance, because it's going to add something to the street, and it's also going to add something to the neighbors' lives to having them out in front and greeting all of us every day. So.
Thank you. Mrs. Falls, would you like to speak as well?
Yes, thank you.
Dale?
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I think it's where Gary and Sarah are at in their life. I think this adding a porch allows them to expand their lifestyle and to be really an integral part of the neighborhood. We're very, very fortunate on South Main Street, as many streets in Chagrin, to have just delightful neighborhood. And it lets them spend quality time with neighbors, meeting new people, and being a transplant into Chagrin Falls, it makes it and so enjoyable for them, rather than just having them in their backyard where they have currently space. So they're a wonderful addition to Chagrin Falls, and hope they're here for a very long time.
Great, thank you. It's rare that we have such an uplifting application and testimony. And I have to say, I had no idea we have a couple in our village that are named the Fallses. That's pretty neat. You have the Fallses in Chagrin Falls. Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from the board of the Falls, of the Fallses? Okay, thank you again. Christy, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak?
We have one last attendee. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand in the Zoom platform. Not at this time, Wade.
Okay, we'll let a second or two more. Going, gone. Anybody else who'd like to speak?
Nope, you're good to
Okay.
go.
All right, Christy, thank you. So at this point, we'll take a motion from the board. Is there someone prepared to make a motion?
I would do that.
Lisa, thank you.
I move that we grant the request for a variance to section 1125.03 K3 regarding the front yard setback at 158 South Main Street. I believe that there's compelling testimony with regard to the fact that the specifics of the neighborhood and the setbacks in that area make it impossible to have a more modest project and still enhance and create a front porch view for this property. While the variance is in the applicant's testimony notable and I think substantial, I think the location of the surrounding properties and the existing setback variances mitigate against holding this property to the specific requirement of the setback in the statute. I think in terms of the Duncan factors, certainly there'll be a larger return with respect to the quality and the usability of the property if the porches, if the variance is granted. I believe that the essential character of the neighborhood would be enhanced relative to the existing porches and the ability of the property owner to utilize their front porch. The granting of the variance will not affect the delivery of governmental services. And from the applicant's own testimony, they were not aware of any restrictions to the addition of a porch when they purchased the property. There's really not a way to make this a more modest project. There's not the width of a standard front porch has been, I think we've got testimony that we're going to be at about 6 feet, which is a minimum to actually utilize the porch and make it accessible by the property owner. So I think there's no other way to feasibly construct and access the front porch feature without granting the variance. The spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed. I believe it's a modest project that if you look at the surrounding properties will enhance this property and make it more in keeping with what other properties look like on the street, and also make it more usable by the property owners. I don't believe these are self-created circumstances that need to be dealt with, because I think the property owner was not aware that there was a restriction on their ability to build this porch. So for those reasons, I think that we should, I move that we grant the variance as requested.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Andrew. That was you, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Rob, roll, please.
Rocky,
I vote aye, especially because I believe that houses in this area of Chagrin that don't have front porches look extremely out of place when you drive through the village. So I'm happy to see one go up, and I'm always an advocate of porches on the houses in Chagrin. I think it's an important part of the culture in Chagrin.
Freshman Johnson,
I vote aye for the reasons stated in the motion. I would love to see a wonderful front porch on this, and it does really fit in with the landscape of the entire street. There's many houses that have pulled porches a little closer to the right of way outside the code's requirements, just because of the nature of those properties. So I think this looks like a fabulous upgrade, and I say aye.
Frick,
I think for the, at least the near future, whenever anyone asks me why we do what we do on the BZA, I will cite this case. While I agree that what is proposed is probably substantial, as I see it, I think the other factors far and away outweigh anything else. And this will do nothing but add beauty, culture, wonderful things to that street, which is very unique in Chagrin, South Main. So I vote enthusiastically aye.
Holdren,
Yeah, I too vote aye for all the reasons stated. I think it's a great design too, and looking forward to seeing it.
and Kramer.
Aye for the reasons stated.
Okay, so to Mr. and Mrs. Gooding, that's a 5-0 approval of your request for variance. I don't know if you've been on the call earlier, but our code allows council to reconsider our decision in this matter and any other matter with an appeal to council. Again, I've never seen a 5-0 decision appealed to council, but I never say never. So essentially what that means is you have 15 days during which an appeal can be made, and we'll wait until the 15 days are up, and then Rob will notify you if there's no appeal in as close to 15 days as possible, and you'll have your variance and you can then proceed with the next step. So essentially 15 days from now, we'll hopefully be delivering good news that there's no appeal and you can proceed.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for your
thank you.
time and your support.
And happy
Well,
New-
welcome to the village. Welcome.
I look forward to meeting you guys because I
Really?
live behind you and I haven't gotten to meet you.
Well, you're welcome to come up anytime.
Yeah, we,
The minute COVID's over, I will meet you guys.
Right.
on a new porch, hopefully.
There you go.
Hopefully.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
welcome.
All of you.
Welcome again. Is there anything else to come up before the board?
Well, I just wanted to remind them that hopefully this year there'll be a Blossom Time run, and they might need to hand out some water or other snacks to the runners from their front porch.
Okay. Well,
We'll keep,
Which
we'll
we now
keep you posted.
okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Something else to look forward
Thank you. The next meeting board is the 26th. We're back on a regular schedule, so 4th Tuesday of January, so 26th.
And there will be 2 projects coming up for that meeting.
Okay.
All righty. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Guys.
rest of the night.